Greetings to our beloved candidates. I welcome you to the 10th lesson of English. As usual, we need to first have the corrections for activity that we gave you in the previous lesson, and that was activity 9. In that lesson, you learned about the usage of none of, and I hope you all passed the activity. However, if you made challenges, here are the corrections. The first question was, all the invigilators did not arrive at the examination center early. You are required to use none of there. When you use none of there, the answer is none of the invigilators arrived at the examination center early. I hope each of you passed that. Because we have a negative word which is not, none of will instead replace that word, and we take away did and not, and we have arrived. So the answer remains the one you see. None of the invigilators arrived at the examination center early. The second sentence was also simple. It was, all the waiters at Fang Fang restaurant are hardworking. You are required to rephrase that sentence beginning with none of. And when you begin with none of in that sentence, all the waiters are hardworking. If all the waiters are hardworking, it means none of the waiters at Fang Fang restaurant is lazy. We have changed the word hardworking to its direct opposite, and that is lazy. We come to number 3. The sentence was, not a single learner paid attention during the lesson. You are required to use none of. None of has almost a similar meaning to the phrase not a single. So the difference is that when we use none of, it is followed by a plural noun in this case. So we were supposed to change learner to learners, and the answer should be none of the learners paid attention during the lesson. I hope you got that right, and if you didn't, make the necessary corrections. Number 4, the sentence was, all the news anchors are audible. You know who the news anchors are? People who go to different fields searching for news. So when we use none of in that sentence, the answer will be none of the news anchors is inaudible. We change audible, its direct opposite, and that is inaudible. Number 5, the sentence was, neither of them attended the last funeral rites. Neither of them attended the last funeral rites. You are required to use none of at the beginning of that sentence, and the answer should be none of them attended the last funeral rites. I hope you know what the phrase last funeral rites mean. Last funeral rites simply refer to a function that is organized to honor the person who died. Okay, the 6th question was, all the holidaymakers have not watched this bulletin today. All the holidaymakers have not watched this bulletin today. What does that mean? When you use none of in that sentence, the answer should be none of the holidaymakers has watched this bulletin today. I hope you got that right. Having looked at those corrections, I now welcome you to today's lesson. And today we are learning about the usage of needn't. We are learning about the usage of needn't. I'm sure this is not new to all of you. You have at least got some information about it. We need to note that needn't is the short form of the word need not. Needn't is the short form, and the full form is need not. Remember, we have other words that are used to mean needn't, and those words are don't need to can as well mean needn't or don't have to. We have others which can as well be used in the same way as needn't is, as we are coming to see. Dear candidates, you need to note that we use needn't to give advice and to blame people who have done wrong things. When someone does something wrong, you blame them. And when you discover that someone has an intention of doing something wrong, you advise or you discourage that person from doing something wrong. So we need to begin with giving advice. I understand each of you has ever given advice. Assume you have realized your classmate wants to steal a ruler. Can't you give advice to that person? Think about the sentences you would construct as you are giving advice. Those are the sentences I need at this time. Construct one. Let each of you construct one. I've given you time to think about that. Construct those sentences. Yes, I see you have ideas. I know some of you would say, you must not steal that ruler. You are advising. Others would say, you should not steal that ruler. You are advising. Others would say, you needn't steal that ruler. And I know others would tell me, you oughtn't to steal that ruler. With oughtn't, it takes two after it. Okay, I know others would also advise that person that it is not necessary for you to steal that ruler. Remember, it also means that it is wrong for you to steal that ruler. Those are we have other words we would use, like you are not supposed to steal that ruler. We are giving advice. Needn't doesn't differ in the usage. When we are using needn't, we maintain the verb in the original form. We must maintain the verb in the original form. Dear candidates, we need to note that when you are giving advice, it must be in the present tense. Because you don't want that person to do something wrong. So you should advise them. So let's apply needn't in advice. Analyze the sentences below and apply needn't as you give advice. We are using needn't in the sentences below. Number one is, it is not necessary for Shafiq to shout in class. It is not necessary for Shafiq to shout in class. Dear boys and girls, can we please advise Shafiq? At this point of time, we are advising Shafiq. Shafiq has not shouted in class, but we are advising him not to do so. So there, we are using needn't. So the answer should be, automatically must begin with Shafiq. Shafiq is the person we are advising. So we must have the answer as Shafiq needn't shout in class. We have other options we would have if we were required to use the words we had seen above. Like using oughtn't, it would still be right. You would say, Shafiq oughtn't shout in class. Well, if you're using shouldn't, you would say, Shafiq shouldn't shout in class. Remember, here we are using needn't. So the answer should be, Shafiq needn't shout in class. I hope you have captured that. We need to have a look at the second example. The patient is not supposed to swallow 10 tablets. Imagine. The patient has been given, the doctors have prescribed the medicine for the patient. And this patient wants to swallow 10 tablets, ignoring the prescription. Advise that patient. So, when we advise using needn't, we shall say, the patient needn't swallow 10 tablets. Hope you have followed that. Then, we ought to have another example, and this is, Ocherit oughtn't to eject the DVD at this time. I'm sure each of you knows what a DVD is. You know, a DVD is a digital video disc. So, Ocherit oughtn't to eject the DVD at this time. Advise Ocherit using needn't. So here we shall say, Ocherit needn't eject the DVD at this time. Thank you. We come to the last example for this kind. We are giving advice. It is not necessary for us to mistreat domestic animals. I know some of you may be having an idea about those who mistreat animals. However, advise them before they do so. When you're advising, having the word not necessary, remember, needn't carries the same meaning as not necessary. So, when you're advising using needn't, the words not necessary must not appear in our sentences. So here, because we have us is a pronoun in a different form. Us is objective, and we need a pronoun which is subjective. If we need to form a subject from us, which pronoun do we get from us? The pronoun is we. So, if we are advising ourselves, we shall say we needn't mistreat domestic animals. I thank you for that. You need to start giving advice using needn't. At the beginning, I told you that we use needn't to give advice and to blame other people. So let's have a look at how we can use needn't to blame people. Remember, when we are blaming people, these people must have done something wrong. When an action is done, you have no option but to blame. At this point, when we are using needn't to blame, it will not differ from other constructions we have been having. Now, assume you have seen some boys playing in class. You are in class and you have seen some boys playing football. Which sentence would you use to blame them? Think about those sentences. Hey, put up your hands and let us know those sentences you would use to blame those people. And I'm sure some of you would say, boys shouldn't have played football in the classroom. We have blamed them. We have used shouldn't have. I am sure others are there talking. I hear you, Mama. I know you would say, boys mustn't have played football in the classroom. And I'm sure others are also thinking about this. Boys needn't have played football in the classroom. We are blaming them. They have already done so. We ought to blame them. Others would say, it was not necessary for the boys to play football in the classroom. The boys have already played football in the classroom, yet it was not necessary. It was not necessary for the boys to play football in the classroom. We proceed. We can as well say it was wrong for the boys to play football in the classroom. We can use other words. Boys were not supposed to play football in the classroom, among others. At this point, dear candidates, you need to note that we also use needn't to blame people who did something wrong or who have done something wrong. Like we have used it that boys needn't have played football in the classroom. We have blamed them using the word needn't. And remember, at this point, it becomes needn't have, followed by a verb in the past participle form. We proceed. Let's apply this. Having learned that, let's apply needn't as we blame people. The first example is, it was not necessary for Mundo to batter his stepsons. Meaning that Mundo battered his stepsons. But it was not necessary. So what do we do? When you're told to use needn't in this case, you will have to blame. Automatically, was shows the completion of the action. Meaning that we have to blame Mundo. Remember, the doer at this point is Mundo. So we shall say, Mundo needn't have battered his stepsons. You know the meaning of battering? You can look it up. There you are. What is to batter? To hit someone strongly. Okay, so we blame Mundo. We say, Mundo needn't have battered his stepsons. Let's have another example. The pupils drank dirty water, yet it was not necessary. What do we do to these pupils? Do we advise them or we blame them? Because they have already drank dirty water at this point, we need to blame them. When you're told to use needn't in such a sentence, which is in the past, we have to blame the doer. And here the doer are the pupils. So we shall say, the pupils needn't have drank dirty water. When you analyze that sentence, you will discover that drunk we have in this case has letter U. Why? It is followed by have, which is a helping verb, which must change the verb to its past participle form. The pupils needn't have drunk dirty water. Okay, another example. You can as well ask people, someone has done something wrong. You ask them, why did you eat the baby's food? I know some of you do so. Some of your siblings do so. Some neighbors of yours do so, and some of your friends. Instead of ask them, why did you eat the baby's food? Remember, the action is already done. We can as well blame them using needn't. And here, it will be, you needn't have eaten the baby's food. Dear candidates, whenever you are given a needn't, you need to analyze the sentence you have been given. Is it in present or in past? If it is in present, it shows the action is not done, so we need to advise. And when it is in past, we have to blame because the action is done. And when we blame, we use needn't have. When we are advising, we use needn't. Dear candidates, you can as well be helped and instructed to use needn't have. There it will be very okay. You will just blame using needn't have. Let's have a look at this example. That is example 4. And it reads, the police advised Malin to go home early. He instead went home late and he was arrested. In such a sentence, we need to analyze what did Marlene do? The police advised, yes. Marlene did not take the advice. What did he do? Marlene went home late. Marlene went home late. If Marlene had gone home early, he wouldn't have been arrested. Because Marlene did not take the advice, what happened? He was arrested. So what do? We blame Marlene using needn't have. Okay, when you use needn't, it will automatically become needn't have. What should be the answer there? Marlene needn't have gone home late. Dear candidates, we have this one as well. You need to note, whenever you're given such sentences, identify the tense in which they are given. If the tense is present, you must advise using needed. If it is in the past, you must blame. At this point, allow me wish you the best. You should stay home and stay safe as you do the exercises we give you. Dear candidates, I remain Odysseus Baguma for now.